Okay, in today's interview, we're going to be talking with an insider into gold and silver. We're going to be discussing the gold silver ratio. Should you be buying gold or should you be buying silver, and why? And we're going to be talking with Michael, the CEO of Vizsla Silver, recently announced Vizsla Silver Company. And so, first of all, everyone, please hit the like button on the right side or the left side, send it out to more people. You know, I'm going to be asking Mike his 2021 silver and gold price predictions. So give us yours in the comments right there down below, your silver or gold price prediction. And the winner is going to get a participation trophy. So let's see, Mike, what do you think the price is going to be?
I think it breaks 50 here shortly. And, to be consistent with what I've said in the past, I think it's certainly possible that we see triple digit silver at some point in the near future.
So do you think that once everyone keeps talking about this $30 thing, and once we get above 30, then there's room to run because historically there's not resistance? Do you think, you said you think we're going to get above 50 quick? So you think once we break, you think will really start to move?
Well, I guess I've seen this tweet, so I'll say I'm old enough to remember the one-day bull market of January 2021 in silver, and I was down in Mexico at our silver project when that was all happening, and that excitement was kind of building, and it felt like as soon as it was going to break that 30, it could gap up, it could gain dollars and dollars, in the coming days after that, and I thought it would, I thought it had a pretty good chance of happening. Now, didn't seem to really respond the way maybe we all were thinking it could have. But I think when it does break out over 30, it doesn't take much for it to kind of jump up to that 50 mark, all-time high mark. And I think we're gonna exceed the previous all-time highs. I mean, this is it's probably a broken record, but look at the unprecedented amount of stimulus, money printing. It's just it's incredible. And then the other way to win with silver, of course, is on the industrial side.
Okay, so tell me why, right? You're the CEO of a silver company, Vizsla Silver, and so tell me why silver over gold. There's a question that a lot of people ask: should I buy silver or should I buy gold? And as someone who's obviously has a lot of success in the mining industry in past companies as well and different commodities, why did you choose silver this time around? Why silver over gold?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Some of them are particular to the asset that we have, but silver as a commodity to me is exciting because it has the industrial application. So when you see copper and base metals move, silver kind of responds positively to that. But when you get into a situation that we're in right now, where you have inflation, you have incredible amounts of money printing. Silver has the best characteristics of gold, which is the monetary characteristics. So it responds very well in an inflationary situation. But also looking at the industrial applications, if economies around the world start to produce more things, or infrastructure expenditures go up, 5G, solar panels, electric cars, silver is integral to all of those things. So that's really what attracts us to it in terms of the commodity, but also, what we're doing in Mexico with our project. These projects command significant premiums to other types of precious metal projects in the world as well too. So I think we've got the best of the commodity with silver, but also the best of an asset class in Mexico.
So first of all, real quick, we're probably getting from the beginning, hey, you got to name the company Vizsla Silver. Why did you decide to do it? And then I want to get a little bit into your predictions for the future of the silver market.
Yeah, so originally when we started the company, it was called Vizsla Resources. We actually had a base metal project in the company that we're spinning out to the shareholders will receive a fractional share of the copper company into for holding the shares of Vizsla Silver. But we changed the name because we wanted to differentiate between the two companies. But we also wanted to demonstrate that we're entirely focused. Vizsla Resources, now Vizsla Silver Corp, is entirely focused on the Copala Panuco district in Mexico. And we we're just, we're so excited about the potential that we see there that we needed to make that clear.
So silver is your focus. You illustrated just a moment ago your views on it. Now, I haven't told you this, and I'm not sure I ever said it. The reason I really got interested in silver is because, I was focusing on my business. I had built a sizable amount of savings, and I realized I didn't feel safe with it just sitting in a savings account. And so I called up my local bullion dealer, and I had a bit of silver and gold, but nothing really that was a reasonable percentage of my net worth that a lot of experts say, hey, everyone, regardless of your net worth, you should have X amount of percentage. So I wasn't up there. So I called this guy and I said, here's how much I have to spend, and I want to buy gold. And he said, no, you're not buying gold. And I said, well, why? And so he said, I will not sell you gold. You're only buying silver from me. And he's like, trust me, just trust me. And we became friends out of it. And I didn't understand it at all. I'd never heard of the gold silver ratio. And I had no idea how undervalued of a commodity it was, and the type of supply needed for the future. It turned out to be like the best thing ever, because I bought my physical silver most of it at $17, but I didn't understand it at the time. And so can you break down a little bit of what you see during this bull market in silver? Right. We talked a little bit off air about the gold to silver ratio. You were saying this is about that time when silver starts to make the move. So explain to us why silver over gold and what that man was kind of trying to push me towards.
Well, I think, if we look towards, look back kind of to March, almost a year ago, when we had that massive sell-off in both metals. And it was kind of reminiscent of 2008, the crash in 2008. So if you look back to 2008, even 2000, those market crashes or those kind of shocks to the system that initially impact gold down and then silver down with it, but then recover over time. And, in the future, you see that initially gold will outperform. People pile back into gold. It's kind of a safe haven trade. But then you also see later, following that, you see silver lag, usually about 6 months or so in the 2000 crash and the 2008 crash. You see gold move first, silver lag, silver come up to gold's level in terms of performance, and then maybe 6 months after that or so, you start to see it kind of exceed the gains percentage wise on gold. And this feels to me like the gold silver ratio is now breaking down, and to me it seems that we're kind of at that inflection point where now that there's infrastructure expenditure and stimulus in the infrastructure area, and economies are starting to around the world starting to move back, improving slightly. The industrial applications and the industrial demand of silver start to pull that price up higher. And we're starting to see this now. I think this is when silver breaks away from gold and really starts to outperform. That's why I'm comfortable saying that I think the silver price is going to go insane here in the coming months, certainly in 2021.
So during that March time that you illustrated, I forget exactly, but the ratio was over 120, 130, 140, yeah, something like that. And right now it's at maybe like 67, 68, 66. It's been fluctuating in this range. Yeah. So that's a 50% move. We were talking before and we were saying it was about 33 before. So that's another 50% move again. Do you think it can pass that? Some people have even said they think it could even go to 15-1 due to the necessary industrial demand of it and the seemingly imminent squeeze on the amount of physical silver available for a lot of these companies that need it.
Yeah, I mean, stranger things could happen. Like we're in a completely uncharted territory here with the amount of money that. What is that stat too? The amount of money that's being printed, what is it? 60% has been in the last 5 years?
I think it was like 20% of all US dollars ever in existence were created in like 2020 or something like that. It was some insane number like that.
it's so hard to believe, right? So if that, again, you have the two ways to win on that. You have that inflation, or you have that kind of response to the increase in money supply, and then you also have the industrial applications as well. And as those things move, I think we could, that maybe that ratio does respond and breaks down below 30, and does that. But I don't think we need to see that happen to have life-changing gains. Even that, I think just as soon as silver breaks through that $30 resistance there, I think that's going to spur on some very exciting movements certainly for these equities as well.
So just getting to $50, what do you think would happen to junior related silver equities just to get back to that all-time high, right? Some people, you said, you think it can go to triple digits, but just to get back to that all-time highs, what do you think would happen to junior related silver stocks, where I'm primarily focused in my own investments?
They just go absolutely insane. In the last run up, I think I charted it out. Yeah, I've done the research on it. I think the average between Wheaton, First Majestic, Endeavor, all those companies was 10x, right? And those were the established producers. Some of those juniors went 20, 30x, from their lows. So hitting $50 here and moving past that, I any of these things could go up multiple times. Anything with kind of exploring or having success with silver, could go up even more. So.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So on that subject, one of the things that attracts me, and originally what my bullion dealer, I thought he was just selling me. I was like, is there more of a premium on silver? Like, I didn't understand. I'm so thankful for it now. But one of the things he always said is eventually silver is going to be unobtainable. And I was always like, he's being such a salesman right now. And I didn't really get it. I probably entertained the possibility of it more than most people he talked to, but it felt like an exaggeration. But now we're starting to see the cusp of that. They estimate such a tremendous amount of annualized increase in the amount of silver needed to meet all these, renewable EV type of pushes as well. And then we're seeing an increased retail buyers, and all these places are out of their silver. Do you think that a real squeeze in the supply is a real possibility in this? And where do you think it's at with regards to that?
That's a really good question. In the summer, Eric Sprott, went and bought, significant amount of physical out of the market there, and that's what I think spurred on that kick in the summer as well. So I think it is a real possibility, supply squeeze, but I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, and I was excited to see that the Reddit silver squeeze and everything there. I was excited to see how that was going to play out, and I don't think that's finished yet. So I don't know. I suppose I've never really seen it happen myself firsthand, but I think I'm confident it could happen, in this setting right now.
So Keith Neumeyer said two things to me, CEO of First Majestic. One of the bigger, I think maybe the biggest silver producer in terms of how much of their revenue is derived from silver versus gold. So a guy, that's been around the silver market for a really long time. And he said that two things. One, he said that Samsung and he believes other electronic companies are terrified to disclose how much silver they use. He said they don't care about the price of it. It doesn't matter to them whether it's $25 or $47. What matters is that it's available. Yeah. And the second thing he said is that he believes ultimately these companies may just start buying up mines. What do you think about that?
Well, we've seen that in other commodities like nickel. So company that I was previously a director of has done downstream deals with Korean battery manufacturers in Vietnam for their nickel asset. The company is called Blackstone Minerals, but it's commonplace. You see that in other critical minerals that that impact battery manufacturers. So certainly you see that in silver if that becomes a credible risk. And we saw I think it might be a matter of time before even the auto manufacturers, start to step in and secure their supply in some way or shape or form as well too. So that sounds plausible to me.
So looking at what's happening right now in the world, where do you expect these monetary and fiscal trends to go over 2021 in the next few years, especially in areas Canada, United States, where you and I both are? What are you expecting out of the governments and central banks?
I think they keep printing. It's the only way out. It's kind of like it's like a drunken sailor spending. It's we'll cancel your student debt. Why not? It doesn't seem to have any logical conclusion anytime soon. And I don't see how any group would come in. We don't seem to have any leaders in kind of our world that really are going to stand up and press stop on that. I don't see any end to this money printing. I don't see any end to this, which is essentially an inflation tax on people that work, right? You take away their the value that a dollar can buy by diluting it down. So I think I have one of my best friends in a group chat yesterday was taking delivery on silver and gold, and he says, I don't know how you can even have a savings account anymore. Like you just need to own precious metals, right? It's the only thing that you can actually preserve your wealth. And this is someone that's quite comfortable with the the current system. He's not a kind of an anarchist. He's not out there. He's just a normal guy that typically kind of toes the line and that type of thing. But he's starting to see that how can you preserve your wealth without buying real assets? And the easiest one, you'll see that in Bitcoin as well too. Bitcoin's holding in, doing well. These other coins, cryptocurrencies are starting to get adopted. But to me, it's quite simple. There's no way out of the situation that we're in that I can see that these governments or central banks are going to ever stop printing money at this velocity.
Yeah, it seems like it's still not mass adoption or mass awakening, but it does seem between all the cryptos and especially this recent push into silver. We all know the price of silver is not at all reflective of what the real price of silver is. The real price of silver is at least $35. It could be low 40s. And that's what you're buying it for. So when people say, well, the premium's 40%, that's not the premium, that's the price of silver right now.
Exactly.
And so what that all goes to show me is between Bitcoin, between other cryptos, between silver, between gold, there is a lot of people that are feeling less comfortable having the majority of their wealth stored in fiat currency. And it seems like more than ever, people are kind of waking up to that. Yeah. Where do you think that this all leads here? You talked a bit about inflation. What is nobody knows, but what's your best prediction on how this whole thing unfolds?
So I'm not sure that I believe in kind of this, complete devaluation of the U.S. dollar, but in the sense that it, in the near term doesn't, loses its reserve currency status. I don't know if that's necessarily possible. I'm not an economist, but but I don't think that needs to happen to, see, double or triple in gold and more than that in silver, as we talked about earlier. The silver responds, even more aggressively to this type of thing. It's just anytime that you increase the the amount of dollars against a hard asset, the value of the hard asset denominated in those dollars goes up. It's a simple equation in my mind. Again, I don't know if it has this kind of complete disastrous end where where it loses all reserve status. It's where it's your firewood. I don't know if we'll be heating houses with burning dollars, but I'm confident that the value of these precious metals, any store of real value, is going to go up in relation to that.
So then let me ask you, what do you think is needed? You're starting to see some inflation in lumber, and you're starting to see it in soybeans. And the commodity head of commodities research for Goldman Sachs said that they're starting to call corn Bitcoin. And so everyone's been saying that this is supposed to lead to price inflation as well, but that doesn't seem to be happening. Are you anticipating that to occur?
Well, I think you're kind of seeing it in Vancouver. I mean, I don't know. You go out for a meal and you see, for me, the prices of food has gone up, or clothes, or whatever. To me, those price tags have increased just based on my own perception. But where I've been seeing it a lot in Vancouver, of course, this is a crazy housing market, but I was also told by friends of mine in real estate that it's just like it's incredibly difficult to buy houses. So much competition here in Vancouver for houses that are quite expensive as well too, multiple bidders, and so much that people are actually going to houses that were taken off the market, going back and offering them 20% more. Now, to me, yes, it's cheap to borrow money right now. The interest rates are extremely low, but to me, that seems that people are trying to get out of their cash savings or trying to put money into hard asset. Real estate's another hard asset. And again, these housing prices are rapidly rising. So I think I've seen it, across hard assets, and I've seen it across soft assets and consumer goods as well. Now, it's not reflected in the CPI or anything like that, but obviously for reasons, that it doesn't benefit the banks to do that. But it's clear to me that we're seeing inflation.
So, all of that being so, that's the macro environment, at least for me as an investor in silver and a big proponent of silver. That's what's attractive to me. So, how do you feel Vizsla stands to benefit from this? And what are your near term goals as you continue to expand?
Yeah, well, I think for us, it's never been more clear that we're exploring, we're developing, and moving towards production in a silver camp that's very, very high grade, which means it would be high margin to produce, but also a camp that can produce a huge amount of silver. And it's a very large project. It's one that we're having a lot of success while we're exploring. So if silver is increasingly valuable to manufacturers of goods, and increasingly valuable to infrastructure and also to investors, and becomes even more so a monetary metal. I think it's a really good place to be. Moving into production on a very, very large world class supplier, basically, of a mine of silver. So for me, it's actually the way that I own my shares in the company. I focus on this every day. It's kind of the first thing on my mind in the morning, and it's the best way for me to get exposure to what I believe is going to be an incredible time to be an investor in silver.
How long do you think it would? I mean, I know also as the price goes up, it becomes more attractive to get into the position to go online. How long would it take to get to that type of a position?
Well, it's a good question. There's it's always good to kind of wait for studies and do the studies on it. But I'll tell you the reason why we can be in production faster, and could be even within a couple of years here, or maybe even sooner. But there is a mill that is operational on our property. There are tailings, there's power. We have the right to purchase that mill, and we're rapidly discovering more and more silver. So, as opposed to other companies that are exploring for silver, say in Mexico or wherever, they would need to go through the permitting process. They would need to go through the construction process. That could take 2 to 4 or 5 years, more, 10 years in some cases. We can essentially buy that production infrastructure, at any point in time, including right now. So that's what gives us the optionality to be a producer so rapidly.
What would it take for you to exercise that option, right? Because that's the attractive component. Obviously, I had someone on recently that said in a lot of instances, it may even take 10 to 15 years. So a lot of these companies people are buying in silver, not even in 15 years do they have the prospect of becoming a mine in most instances.
Yeah. I was being maybe a little bit more generous saying 2 to 4 to 5 years, but a lot of cases mines will take 30 years, big copper mines will take 30 years to go into production. But, for us, what do we need to see? Well, we're confident in the exploration potential there that we see. What we're doing is just working in the background, doing the requisite work, which is drilling, building a resource. And then, we're also working on the economic studies as well, as a company, privately. So, we're pretty much, in our minds, we're confident that we'll be exercising that option, moving to production. We're just doing the actual work that needs to be done, which is that exploration.
You guys would explode on an announcement like that if you caught it, as silver price is moving too. Let me ask you now, kind of in conclusion, give me some of your philosophies that you think are important right now. There's a lot of people that are either concerned about economic stability or what have you. There's a lot of people that are 10 months behind on mortgages and in rent. And there's a lot of people that have faced fluctuations in incomes, job loss. What do you think are important philosophies for our life, our finances, our business, our investments right now that either you're doing or that you would, that you think are important for us to be considering?
Well, I think always good. I think maybe we talked about this earlier, but in an initial interview. But I always think, if you're kind of facing a situation like that's maybe overwhelming or that's difficult to go through, then the best thing to do in my mind is always kind of write that out, write a list of what you got to do, and make a plan and put that into action and look at it practically, right? And be determined and persistent. Not so much of a catchy philosophy as rather just kind of looking at things practically, and it's a very difficult thing to be into when you're the world feels like it's kind of falling apart. I think for a lot of people with this pandemic that could be the case, but I think there's probably a fair bit of hope out there too to get involved in some of these themes that are happening right now, like the inflation theme and what we're seeing here with silver and Bitcoin. And so I think even though it's a challenging time, there is still a lot of opportunity.
So obviously, you've been very successful as a business owner. I guess for those that didn't hear last episode, your first company, you sold for $15 million before you turned 30, and you've done pretty well for yourself. And so one of the common themes that I talk about a lot on this channel is I always say, like, you need a business. And when I try to offer what I think is important, and in my opinion, it's the most important thing. I think it's very easy to think the only thing you need to do is buy Bitcoin, is buy silver, is buy gold. That's the only thing. And for a lot of people, it's part of it, but they don't even have enough capital to get something that could, those stories of helping them retire for the rest of their life. And so I think a business is an important component, and then also the cash flow. So then you don't need to be selling out of your stocks to pull some cash out. You can let things ride and let that original capital keep growing. And obviously your returns are going to be greater. So I think a business is so important, but it's overwhelming. What do you think are the most important things in that subject of getting going?
Well, that's actually, I think the most important thing is just that is getting going, not being afraid to fail on something. I failed on tons of businesses in the past. I had when I was in school and everything, I had a landscaping business. That was kind of one that I don't even know how that came about. I think I just came up with it once. So I got to do something here, make some money while I'm in school, and started a landscaping business. I ended up doing pretty well with it, actually. So, but a lot of times I see people and come across things where it's kind of a little bit of a fear to start or fear of failure. But I think that embracing failure or the potential of failure is probably one of the best characteristics when it comes to building businesses. So, I guess, people always say, oh, it's never been easier to start a business and blah, 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 online, this and that. But I think for a lot of people, it is, they're hesitant to kind of go out and try something and fail, but failing, is a part of the process, right?
So how do you wrap your head around that? Somebody says, I intellectually understand that, but how do I do it? It's, for all of us, we're kind of conditioned our whole lives in the opposite direction. So there is a point of resistance or turbulence, that you move through. How did you do it? Or how would you, what inspiration would you offer to someone there?
Well, the best thing that I've ever done in terms of kind of work, I suppose, in terms of kind of ensuring success, or not even ensuring, but increasing my odds of success is reaching out to people that I recognize that are good at it, and mentors. I think mentors are pretty much non-negotiably part of this. Of even if it's like I said, like a landscaping company or something like that, go and talk to the guy that's doing it the best, that right, or you can find, or I think people are pretty open to helping other people as well too. And if you looking for a mentor, I remember being not super comfortable doing that myself originally, but I think that's like a really valuable way of doing it. It's even just talking to people. The other thing that I found is actually kind of an interesting, as a side note, if you're a young person, there's a guy in Vancouver here, I think he's in high school, that's I think his Instagram's Matthews Millions or something like that, and he's kind of interested in business space in BC here, and he's been able to get interviews with some very big people. And the other thing I think is this, just starting a forum like this, your channel as well, and being able to go talk to Doug Casey and all these people and get to pull their thoughts. It's a good way to, if you're kind of interested in an area, try to find a way to kind of go after the thought leaders and give them a platform, right?
Yeah, I get free mentorship on all these calls, so it's worked out pretty well. So I think that's a big one, though, right? And it's like, I know there's been a lot of Robert Greene, the 48 Laws of Power guy. He wrote a whole book, where he was talking about basically that's how like all the greats in history became great. And it's something we're literally never told. I never even had heard the word until I read the book Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. He talks about seeking expert counsel. And so you made a good point. You can even do it with a landscaping business. You just go find what's the number one search engine stuff in your zip code that pops up, and see who the owner is, see who he is, And how would you do that? You just kind of reach out, hey, what's up? How have you done it in the past, kind of in conclusion?
Yeah, either kind of leaning on my existing network, kind of, trying to just actively thinking about how to do that and lean on an existing network. Or if you don't have that at all, I think the art of cold calling and being rejected while cold calling, I think is a good trait too. So even if you reach out to someone for mentorship and they reject you, you're still, you're getting thicker skin and learning something. So it doesn't hurt to try, I would say, even if it's just completely cold.
I was a big Kobe Bryant fan growing up in Southern California, and in his later years of his life, as he was exiting the basketball world and he was getting into business, he used the same. That's how he became great in basketball, was mentors, and he had a lot of them, and he applied the same thing to business. And I remember hearing like Ariana Huffington saying she got a 3 a.m. call from like a random number, and she like answers it, and he's like, "Hello, this is Kobe Bryant," and she's like, "Is this really Kobe Bryant?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was just wondering, if you have some time, could I ask you some business questions sometime, please?" And she was like, "Sure." And that's what he would do to big investors and business owners. He would just cold call them. So I think that's a kind of fun and exciting way to kind of wrap up. But let me ask you here, in conclusion, what's one thing you are looking for right now in the silver price to take off? Is it getting above 30? What are you kind of anticipating here? Do you think we need more stimulus? Do you think what's going to be the catalyst here in your prediction?
Good question. I certainly wasn't expecting the Reddit thing. So it could be something just to continue continuation of that kicks it up, and kind of the these investors taking delivery and just continuing to do that of the silver, and I think that eventually catches up to the real trade price. So I think it's just a matter of time. I don't know. I think it's actually the foundation's been set. It's just a matter of time for that to really kick in.
It's just right now we're just waiting for a very small stiff breeze. I think it is, the system is so ready for a price explosion. So excited about that. Last but not least, tell us where we can find more about your company and what you got going on and all that.
Yep. So social media, Visa Silver Corp, and I believe we're just in the process of changing to visasilvercorp.com as well. So either that or Visa Resources, depending on when you hear this.
Awesome. So thanks for coming on, Mike. You can find company in Canada or in the OTC, and hopefully by the end of this room, we're able to move over in the United States over to maybe the NASDAQ or something like that. We'll see if silver explodes, man. We might be the takeover of the miners. Doug Casey's always said the time to sell is when on the cover of Fortune magazine, there's a picture of the stock market with a giant gold bull breaking right through it. He said, that's the day I'm going to sell. So it's exciting to be on this journey with you, Mike. So thanks for coming on. And for everyone, please make sure you hit the like button on either side right over there. Send this out to more people. Give us your price prediction for silver right there down below. Mike is saying he thinks it can move to 50. I told my Twitter fans that if the price goes to 75 in 2021, I'll cut my hair. And if it goes to 100, I'll just light it on fire. So we'll see what happens.
I might have to do something like that.
All right, cool, Mike. It's great to have you on.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.